Welcome to the Kolkata Colloquim 2019, organized by the ORF in partnership with several other organizations. The theme of this colloquium is Reimagining Bimstec. I have two guests with me, very eminent persons. On my left is Bertil Lintner, eminent journalist, settled in Thailand and as much of a regional person as any of us here, has been in Thailand very, very long. He's an expert on Myanmar, knows India very well, especially the east of the country, and also much of the rest of Asia. On my right is U Soe Myint. I don't have to tell you how he came into journalism, but he is the editor of leading Burmese media group, Mizzima, and he has been a political activist in Myanmar in the heady days of the pro-democracy movement. So eminent panelists, people who think. Bertil, beginning with you, how do we reimagine Bimstec? You know, I can see the smile on your face, and which means perhaps you suggest, well, easier said than done. But is that the case?
Definitely, because I mean, there's a lot of talks about corridors going here and there, but I hear very little about windows and doors along those corridors. We're talking here about sovereign nations, countries which fought for the independence against colonial rule. They're not going to give up that sovereignty, that independence, that easily to some kind of supranational entity. And how to overcome that is something that I cannot really see what's going to happen in the foreseeable future. Of course, you can have some certain things happening, and we should also remember that we're talking about business, about trade. It very often has its own momentum. It doesn't really need any kind of superstructures. It doesn't even need agreements or treaties. It goes by its own...
Market logic, you mean?
Exactly. And also if you talk about people-to-people connection, connectivity, yeah, people do travel, they meet, and that's fine. And,
but they want to travel more easily. I mean, you have crossed borders without visas and passports, I know,
yes,
for a fact, and so have I. But, you know, would we like easier borders, easier sort of visa regimes and stuff like that? Would that help in more people?
People like us would certainly want it, but the question is, would the governments in this region really want it? I mean, migration, and very often non-illegal migration, is a very big issue in many countries in Southeast Asia and South Asia. We see what's happening in Assam, we see what's happening in Myanmar, Thailand, where I live, and so on. So I'm actually not that convinced that governments are going to make it that much easier for people to travel. They may
especially governments which are obsessed with, you know, migration, which are obsessed with what they say is infiltration, you know, keeping people out. So this works at cross purposes. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, definitely. I mean, certain measures could be taken, but we must also remember that it's not going to be easy, because most of the governments in this part of the world are fiercely independent and they want to protect their sovereignty. When it comes to trade, when it comes to movement of people, when it comes to basically everything. Foreign policy, for instance. I mean, this is not going to be in the European Union in this part of the world anytime soon.
Yeah, Europe needed 2 world wars to wake up to the fact that they need to live in peace. We can't afford that luxury, though.
No, and even the European Union is fighting with enormous problems. Look at
Brexit. Oh, yeah.
Well, could have expected that a couple of years ago.
Right. So, Myanmar, ruled by the military for very long, fiercely protective of sovereignty for various different reasons. Now, of course, democratizing, but then you had other problems. Do you think Bimstec makes sense to somebody who is patriotic Myanmaris like you? Does it make sense? Do you think you can get... I need a nation-state perspective here, you know, because nation-states will promote regional cooperation like Bimstec only when they see that they gain out of it, yeah? So what do you think? Give us a Myanmarese perspective.
Let me start before I make my own personal opinion on Bimstec. Let me also tell you the perspective from Myanmar as a nation state. For Myanmar, ASEAN is more important than Bimstec, definitely. Bimstec, yes, because now there is some awareness about Bimstec and some importance about Myanmar being a part of the Bimstec because of BRI and other issues. But still, ASEAN is much more important, being a part of ASEAN group rather than in Bimstec.
Why is that? You think you stand to gain more from ASEAN than from connecting to, let's say, South Asia, for instance? Because in Bimstec you have South Asian countries.
I think a lot to do with the proximity and also a lot to do with interest, the business cooperation in terms of tourism, connectivity. I mean, you take 1 hour flight from Yangon to Bangkok, and you take a few hours to reach Delhi. Or even if not days in the old days.
So he knows Delhi Durias, Delhi is far
Yes,
off. Yeah, that's
yes.
a problem.
But having said that, my personal opinion is Myanmar is a bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia, and Myanmar can use it as an opportunity for both for national interest and also for the interest of the countries
So
in
will
the
that
region.
make Myanmar interested in Bimstec?
Yes, definitely. But it depends on the member states as well of the Bimstec. For example, we don't know much about Bimstec in Myanmar. So we need to do a lot of visibility work within the member states to promoting.
Which is where the media comes
Which
in.
is where the media exactly come. I mean, if you look at the sectors of importance within the Bimstec, media is not there. I would encourage media forum within the Bimstec. As a really one of the
So exchange of
sectors.
news and views between established
Exactly.
publications?
I mean, you can do many things. I mean, if you look at ASEAN, in this kind of meeting, you will see a lot of visibility. ASEAN flags and the country. So ASEAN is whatever it is one good example there where Bimstec could do for visibility or promoting visibility or spreading awareness.
Both at the
among
people to
member states.
people level as well
Yes.
as the decision making
Yes,
levels?
yes. Another I would say is tourism. Of course, people are going, people are traveling, but we still are having lots of issues within the Bimstec countries that makes people less travel. And people
So you
like to
allow
travel.
visa on arrival on the Manipur-Tamil border, India does not allow.
India doesn't allow. Now, there is agreement. In fact, there are many agreements, bilateral agreements or within Bimstec, which are already signed but not implementation. Implementations are so slow. Like just one example, between Myanmar and India border, both sides can go up to 14 days. Myanmar is ready and already published 3,000 passports, which is the red color passports for Indians, but Indian side is not ready. So I think we need to do a lot of this implementation. I think let's implement whatever we have agreed so far, even within the Bimstec. So tourism, media, visibility, I think this will be a part of that. When I say reimagining Bimstec, we need to reimagine Bimstec, but before that we need to make visible of the Bimstec for ourselves within the group.
And basically walk the talk. You know, it's in the implementation. It's not in deals that are signed, it's not in agreements that are signed, but in implementing those agreements, which is where the national bureaucracies come in. Indian bureaucracy, Bertil, you have some idea. It's slow, it's sort of, protective of the turf, it does not open up. You see, I mean, in this kind of a situation, India is obviously the big player in the room. So if it's Bimstec, do you see that as a problem because, the way India functions?
Well, India has an enormous bureaucracy, but so do many other countries in the region too. I mean, China, where I live, is almost equally bureaucratic. But I've been living in China for 40 years, been paying taxes for 40 years. Even so, I have to go every year and have my visa work permit renewed. I cannot become a permanent resident because I'm a foreigner. And it's actually easier for me than it is for people from the Eastern countries to stay in the country. So bureaucracy is an impediment everywhere, not only here.
So, the other thing that I would like to say, there are 14 sectors in the Bimstec. There are areas like security. There are other areas which so been talked about. Now too much focus on security and stuff like that, then you have bureaucrats, you have security managers who are protective of sovereignties, and that works at cross purposes because that stops a bit of opening up. What's your thoughts on that?
Of course it does. I mean, and we talk about intelligence sharing, for instance. Everyone talks about it, but no one's actually doing it. If they are, it's to a very limited extent, and mostly
Intelligence sharing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the Indians and the Bangladeshis are doing it quite a bit because I know for a fact that the JMB, when it attacked the Dhaka bakery and stuff like that, their code was broken by the Indian intelligence. So, that has worked. But it's again country to country. It's again the trust between the country, the regimes, if they are friendly with each other. But same, it has not worked with Myanmar, India and Myanmar. Intelligence sharing has not worked.
Yeah.
But he's also talking about trade. I mean, trade has its own dynamics, its own. It functions without any kind of agreements. I mean, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago actually, I was in Imphal with a group of Myanmar journalists, and there is a market in Imphal called the Burma market. So I told them, go to the Burma market and see how many Burmese goods you can find there. But one would come back with an umbrella, and then there was a little ball, this little rattan ball for people kick with their heels. Where did all the other goods come from?
From China.
China. And then it's of course informal trade.
But that's exactly the reason why when you have RCEP, the Indians are shouting, fuming and fretting over rules of a country's, of origin, the rules of origin. That's where it comes in, because everything Chinese comes in and maybe with a Burmese stamp or something. But having said that, do you think one of the key agenda in Bimstec should be actually relative open borders?
Well,
Both land and sea.
I think doesn't really matter, because I would like to see that, sure, but is it going to happen? I'm not holding my breath.
Borders, these borders were in the past open. Then we had an issue of demarcation, we have an issue of nation state coming up. But I agree with Bertil that this will not come easy and this will not open up easily in next few years. But we could do, like the roads are there, we should definitely, as again, implement what we agreed, the road construction have been delayed. Indian assistance to road, the bridge construction in, for example, between Kali and Tamu, again being delayed for next, I don't know, maybe 1-2 years. Without this 3 hours drive section of the road construction, without the proper bridges, how you will do the connection? So I think another one important point that you mentioned is information sharing. I think that whatever it is, we need to share information within the Bimstec nations. We need to have a transfer of technologies. That is what we could do, at least. I mean, despite all this difficult terrains, and we could do these things easily.
One other issue that comes in here, is that opening of borders. One of the big problem, and you raised this question of bridges and all that, and I know it for a fact that the reason for the delays operating insurgencies in those regions, the Arakan armies created a lot of difficulty. Is it not important for nation states to sort out these old political problems, such as the Nagas and all these other problems, before we think we can have national economic corridors, transnational corridors? How can you have transnational corridors running over areas where you have such difficult insurgencies and festering for long? Do you think first the nation states like India and Myanmar and others should actually concentrate on sorting out these political problems domestically?
No, that's
before
why
we start thinking.
That's why all our strategies and national strategies within the Bimstec have to be tailored to the local context. We need the people's participation in the area. Well, we are saying that all this should be connected, but how about the locals in the particular area? Are they aware of the projects, big projects? Particularly big projects do have effect.
So they should have a stake in them.
Yes, they should have.
Rather than feeling opposed to them.
That is the basic fundamental, I think, things that we have to. We cannot say no to them because they are the ones who live there.
That's right. That's a very important point. We are sort of running out of time. Your thoughts on that, Bertil? You've crossed these areas. You know the insurgents. I mean, is that a problem? Do you think countries like India and Myanmar should first sort out these problems before trying to do transnational economic corridors over difficult areas which have been having festering insurgencies?
So I think these problems will have to be tackled bilaterally rather than it's a kind of needed superstructure, because these are bilateral issues. We have seen some cooperation here recently with the Myanmar army attacking the Naga camps on the other side of the border. Until only a few years ago, they even denied there were any such camps in the country. So that kind of thing definitely is an issue. But it's also inside India. I mean, in Manipur, when I went from Imphal down to Moreh 2 years ago, I talked to the traders there, and just man, how many revolutionary groups do they have to pay revolutionary?
Exactly, that's a problem.
That is an internal problem in Manipur more than because of
So nation states would have to tackle some of these key questions on the frontier domestically before they imagine, they can have something like Bimstec and economic corridors opening up. That's a sheer problem. We've discussed a few other problems in the time possible. Thank you very much.